Tonight on DC News Now at 6, a fabricated crisis as more migrants continue to be dropped off in front of Vice President Kamala Harris's home in order to make a political statement. Will this help or hinder Republicans come the midterms?
Separate yourselves.
And a fight breaks out at a local high school. We have the details and the consequences for those involved.
Sunshine out there today. It has been a beautiful day across the area, and the trend will continue into tomorrow as well. Good news there. I'll talk about when we may see some showers make a return back into the neighborhood. That's all coming up. Stick around.
Good evening, and thanks for joining us for DC News Now at 6. I'm Michaela Newton. We begin tonight in Montgomery County, where a fight on the football field broke out last night. Right now, you're going to look at some cell phone video that we actually retrieved from someone who was at the game. Gaithersburg High School was actually playing Northwest High when this fight broke out on the field last night. At least one person was arrested who police say had a knife. And the game was canceled due to the fight, but new tonight, both football programs have been suspended pending further investigation by school officials and police. This means that neither team will be able to play at home or away games for an indefinite period of time. And over to Virginia now. In Loudoun County, a former school counselor has pled guilty to having an inappropriate sexual relationship with one of her students. 43-year-old Ann Barrett entered a guilty plea for what court documents describe as taking indecent liberties with the child. The inappropriate relationship happened between 2013 to 2016 when Barrett worked at Freedom High School. The boy was 16 years old when the relationship began, and Barrett now faces up to 5 years behind bars. And developing now a new policy from the Virginia Department of Education. It says students must be called by the name and pronoun assigned to them at birth unless their parent submits a formal request to change them. Now, this new policy is a reversal of the one implemented under Governor Ralph Northam. Max Marcilla explains the stark contrast.
Governor Glenn Youngkin's emphasis on parental rights in the classroom is front and center in this new policy from the Virginia Department of Education. It continues the messaging we heard last month when Youngkin rallied with parents in Fairfax County.
What's their name? What pronoun will they use? How are they going to express their gender? This is a decision that bureaucrats in Fairfax County believe that they should be able to make without telling parents.
Today, Youngkin released a statement saying, in part, it is not under a school's or the government's purview to impose a set of particular ideological beliefs on all students. In addition to changes on how staff is allowed to address students, the policy says students have to use the bathrooms that align with their sex in official school records. And while Youngkin is calling it a commitment to preserving parental rights, Fairfax County student Rivka Viscardo-Lichter with the Pride Liberation Project is concerned about the ramifications for transgender students.
The reason that parents are not knowledgeable of their child's identity is because if they were, their child wouldn't be their child. Their child would be kicked out, disowned, cut off.
And Delegate Marcus Simon, a Democrat who represents Fairfax County, is calling this a way to score political points.
This policy doesn't come close to complying with either the letter or the spirit of the law that we passed in 2020, which was supposed to be, evidence-based best practices to provide a supportive environment for kids that were transgender.
School boards in Alexandria and Arlington, Fairfax, Loudoun, and Prince William counties have already enacted the previous transgender policy from the DOE. Now they'll have to adopt policies consistent with the new model, though no deadline for when they have to do so is mentioned.
According to Equality Virginia, an LGBTQ advocacy group, only 8 school boards in the Commonwealth had fully adopted the previous policy. It sparked some intense moments at board meetings in Virginia. Well, the Montgomery County Police need your help in finding this man. You can see him right there on your screen, who they say robbed a bank on Friday. Around noon, the police received calls about an armed bank robbery, and detectives say that the suspect pulled a black gun on a teller who gave the man an undisclosed amount of money. His face was caught on security cameras, and police are offering up to $10,000 for any tips that lead to an arrest. Well, the D.C. Metro Police are also looking for a suspect in the first-degree theft of a pet bulldog. Police say it happened Friday evening in a hotel on 22nd Street Northwest. The dog, Hugo, was stolen from the hotel room where he and his owner were staying. But if you have seen this dog, please contact the Metro Police. And in the district now, this November, voters will decide how much tipped workers are paid. Ballot Initiative 82 aims to raise the minimum wage, more than tripling the base salary for servers, bartenders, and more. But right now, tipped workers are paid a minimum of $5.35 an hour plus tips. But by law, their hourly pay, including those tips, must average out to at least minimum wage, which is $16.10 an hour in D.C. But if not, their employer must match the difference. Under Initiative 81, all tipped workers would be paid minimum wage up front plus tips.
Customers want to make sure that the workers are being paid a fair wage with tips on top.
Everybody realizes that they'll have to come up with some sort of way of passing the expense on to the customer.
Against this, say restaurants will need to implement a service charge to check in order to make up for the added labor cost or cut jobs. And taking a look now at the migrant crisis, advocates are calling this week's migrant drop-off outside of the vice president's official residence a political stunt. Our Daniel Hamburg spoke to one local nonprofit that's trying to lend a helping hand in lightening the crisis.
Local nonprofits have processed and are helping dozens of migrants dropped off at the vice president's doorstep Thursday morning.
They're using vulnerable people, weaponizing them, and then using them for their political gain.
Abel Nunez, executive director of the Central American Resource Center, says many migrants felt abandoned.
They feel lied to because they're like, if you gave me a bus, you would have at least put me in a place where I could get resources. But no, they get dumped in the middle of nowhere. And I think that it's shocking to them because they don't know what's going on.
He's happy Mayor Bowser wants to start the Office of Migrant Services as immigrants continue to come to D.C., not just on buses.
We don't know how big this crisis could become. We know what they're dealing with on the southern border, but we also don't want to be in the middle of a political stunt that's really harming human beings.
One of the things that we've been asking is space, an actual respite center, welcome center that we can, where the buses can actually land. And when they do stunts where they go get dropped somewhere else, we can quickly move them into that.
He says centralized resources are key to helping people get settled or onto their final destination.
You can do it a different way. You know, the way, Governor Abbott is doing, and to a certain extent DeSantis, is just to hurt people. And it's unnecessary.
Nunez says Arizona, on the other hand, gives them reports every 4 hours of who's coming to D.C.
They tell us where they're at. They give us the manifest of who's on the bus, family units, needs, contact information.
He wants this situation to be a turning point for action.
It would be wonderful if we can turn this around and be as a model where states are putting in money to actually get them closer where they want to be. Municipalities that receive them have centers to kind of where they can land.
Reporting for DC News Now, I'm Daniel Hamburg.
Heads up, check your speedometer because some speed limits along several DC corridors are being lowered from 30 to 25 miles per hour. The changes are already in place on Connecticut Avenue Northwest and New York Avenue Northeast, but future changes will affect North Capitol Street and Blair Road Northwest, plus Harewood Road to Van Buren Street Northwest, and finally Wheeler Road southeast from Whaler Place to Southern Avenue.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Take a look at what we have. Today's high 82 at D.C., the low 63. The average should be 80 and 64, and the high, record high, 96 back in 1991. The record low, 44, set back in 1923. Where the current temperatures stand as we speak. 78 degrees right now, sunshine out there. As you see, the humidity is not bad at 52%. The dew point is at 59. Winds out of the south at 10 miles an hour, and the sun sets tonight at 7:13. Now, yeah, summer is winding down here, and the earlier sunset times are, well, making some people a little antsy, right? Tonight, 7:13. Autumn arrives here in just a couple of days, so in 5 days, we lose 8 minutes of sunlight, 7:05. On Halloween, we're looking at 6:08 p.m. when we actually see the sun setting at that point in time, and that's a month from now. All right, what about temperatures here? As you can see the numbers here, we're looking at 80 at Fredericksburg, 77 at Manassas, 79 at Leesburg, 77 at Martinsburg, 73 at Winchester, but 81 out towards Cumberland's way. And the dew points are pretty pleasant in and around D.C. However, they are picking up just a little bit out towards the west. We'll watch that closely because the humidity will start to creep back up into play here. But as you notice with our satellite and radar, it is mainly dry, high and dry, as we like to call it here in the Weather Center. And that will stay that way going into tomorrow. We'll talk about temperatures for tomorrow and beyond with your full 7-day forecast coming up.
All right, Scott, thanks so much. And Brandy, we have you a little early here tonight. What's going on in sports?
Well, it's a big day for the University of Maryland's football team, and our Alex Flum is out there covering the game for us, and I had to grab him before he got too busy.